Greetings, Culturians, and welcome back to the channel today. Oh boy, we've got some fantastic news. A real expectation beater. That's right. I was expecting this to drag on and on forever, and a judge made it so it didn't. And boy, oh boy, do we have a big loser here. That's right. Blake Lively's a loser, at least when it comes to trying to get somebody on some kind of harassment charge. Look, there's a lot of evidence that really makes Blake look like the worst possible human being on the planet, and I'm here for it. So, here we go. Now, before we get started, just a real quick reminder, I am trying to get to 50K. I can do that with your kind help, so please look down below, make sure you're still subscribed. If not, click the subscribe button, hit the little silver notification bell, turn on all notifications, hit the thumbs up button, and we're already well underway. If you have thoughts on this, I want to hear them because I've been waiting for it for a while. I had a feeling this was going to be the outcome. How about you? I want to know right now. Answer that question below. Let's get to the story from Variety. Blake Lively's sexual harassment suit against co-star Justin Baldoni was gutted by judge because she's a lahu zahur.
Lahu zahur.
A big old mean girl who wasn't quite mean enough. And look, I will say that I have some schadenfreude here because it does expose her for what she is, a terrible, terrible person. The messages to the people in her crew alone were pretty gross. And now I'm starting to think that a lot of these Hollywood type mean girls are really one of the reasons why Hollywood sucks now. Let me know if you think that's accurate in the comments section below. Let's get back to the story. A judge has thrown out Blake Lively's sexual harassment claims against Justin Baldoni, gutting her headline-grabbing lawsuit that followed the release of the domestic V film, It Ends With Us, which, again, if you watched the filming of it, which Baldoni released on a website showing you that basically he had the evidence to prove all of this wrong, well, we always knew it was going to happen this way. In a ruling issued Thursday, Judge Lewis Lyman, I don't know which, threw out 10 of the 13 claims in Lively's lawsuit, including claims of harassment, defamation, and conspiracy. Conspiracy.
Disney, Kathleen Kennedy are gonna get you.
He allowed 3 claims to proceed to a trial, including claims of breach of contract, retaliation, and aiding and abetting in retaliation. What does that actually mean? Are any of those claims going to be successful? I'd say the teeth is no longer in the lawsuit, and the lawyers are likely to be scrambling. They were relying on the believe all women bologna sausage that has been punishing men for the better part of the last decade, and while Me Too and Time's Up have gone the way of the dodo, I hope the rest of this crap does too. Let me know if you agree or disagree down below. Let's get back into the story. The two sides did not immediately respond to a request for comment. Of course not. Lively, the female lead, accused Baldoni, the director and co-star, of harassing her in an adult manner on the set by making unwelcome comments about her appearance and weight. I never believed any of that. I don't think any of you did, and especially after you started to see the interactivity that she was having to try to take over the film from the very beginning. See, acquiring content from a quality writer is difficult, and Wayfarer had secured these particular books to make a series out of it, and Blake Lively was going to be one of the leaders of the series, along with Baldoni, who was not only directing, but his production company was working on it. This was an opportunity for her and her husband Ryan, despite what you may think of him otherwise, to steal a piece of content and repurpose it as their own. Like I said, it's hard to acquire good stuff, and they were going to try to take somebody else's good stuff. That's a schmucky move, if you ask me. Anyway, Lyman ruled that Lively could not bring a sexual harassment claim under federal law because she was an independent contractor. He also ruled that she could not file a harassment claim under California law because the filming took place in New Jersey. Yes, this would have been much better suited for California with incredibly liberal, crazy people. But in New Jersey, still liberal and crazy people, just less so. At least that's the observation from the outside. Anyway, she also alleged that Baldoni hired an army of publicists, actually just one, to retaliate against her by seeding and amplifying negative stories online. The judge ruled that 2 retaliation charges deserve to go to jury, but that's it. And here's the small problem. Recently, we've got some exposure and some insight, which is a problem because, well, that's going to make its way into court, along with a whole lot of other evidence that we haven't seen in the general public. And I have a feeling Baldoni comes out smelling pretty good in this one. Now, Baldoni and his lawyers argued that Lively used exaggerated charges of misconduct to seize control of the film and then cast Baldoni as a villain, which is exactly what they tried to do. In fact, relying and leaning into her relationship with famous people like Taylor Swift. Hey, Swifties, you're being manipulated, just in case you didn't know. Hey, let me know what you think of that in the comments section below. But Baldoni's team argued that Lively's allegations about on-set behavior amounted to nothing more than minor grievances, which is true. She was trying to get her own cut of the film accepted by the distributor, which would have been disastrous, in my opinion, and that he had a right to defend himself from what he saw as false allegations. Well, look, everybody uses publicists, and everybody's going to try to leverage things to make themselves look better. That's not a problem, but what Blake was doing, that is a problem. Oh, I can't wait to see what happens there. Regardless, it ends with us grossed at $350 million worldwide, making it a remarkable hit in 2024. But the film's release was shadowed by the persistent rumors of a rift between the 2 leads, which there was one, which has led to more than a year of messy litigation and obviously the removal of the most incendiary claims. And you know what? That's fantastic. Now, Tom Rothman wrote something specifically disastrous, that it's all bleeping a disaster, according to the Sony Film Chair. That was in an August 2024 email summing up the situation, and none of who is right or wrong matters at all. The mess is the story now and will define the film. No one can watch the film the same way, which is tragic. You know what? That's a lot of insight from a studio head. And he was somebody who was also right about the overexposure of superhero films and a reluctance to fund certain projects that he knew were not going to be profitable. Rothman has been brilliant since taking over a lot of duties from the, well, absolutely insane Amy Pascal, who I still somehow blows my mind has some kind of control over Spider-Man or anything related to that. She is a walking disaster that Sony was able to get out from underneath. Oh, the email leaks. Ooh, they were bad. Anyway, why is it always ladies that are wrecking Sony movies? I don't know. Let me know if that's sexist in the comments section below. Regardless, the fight has involved several high-profile names, like, as I mentioned before, Taylor Swift, whose lawyers have sought to keep her out of it, but that's not going to work. In a text message to Lively in the fall of 2024, Swift referred disparagingly to Baldoni. You can go and find all those messages, by the way. And I think this biatch knows something is coming because he's gotten out his tiny violin. That's not a spectacular quote, Tay-Tay. And to Tay-Tay's fans, does that change your opinion of her at all? That she's such a manipulative person? I don't know. She's always made other people look bad, despite maybe those people just acting in the best interest of, well, whatever contracts they had. Regardless, Lively also messaged Swift that Baldoni was a clown and a doofus director. Again, those are disparaging thoughts coming out of Blake Lively. So with all that being said, what do you think? Look, there's only 3 claims left out of the 13, and likely those are going to find their way into, well, some kind of settlement at the end. There's not a whole lot of damage done. There's no real defamation here. There's a lot of stuff that's very hard to prove, especially when, well, Blake and her team were responsible for doing exactly the same thing she claims, even though I think it's going to be hard to prove what she is claiming. And that could lead to, well, a countersuit that, well, may be brought again, even after one was dismissed before. I don't know. This is a disaster for Hollywood, Sony Pictures, Wayfarer Productions, and probably most especially for Blake Lively and her husband, Ryan Reynolds. But hey, those are my thoughts. What are yours? Let me know what they are down in the comments section below. And as always, be sure to take care of yourself, take care of others, and until next time, see ya. Just not watching this terrible film and terrible situation. Well, no, I'm going to watch that. Anyway, see ya.